our most anticipated games of 2022. Now, as we know with video games in general and the way things have been going recently, there's no guarantee that these games are going to come out in 2022. Some of them we can probably be pretty, like, if Elden Ring doesn't come out in 2022, that's a problem. If Dying Light 2 doesn't come out in 2022, that's a problem. But there's some other things, like some questionable ones like Breath of the Wild 2. Will that come out in 2022? I hope so. It should, by all like accounts of how long it's been in development and everything like that. But it doesn't have a release date, so maybe it doesn't. So let's just start with why don't you two just talk about Tiny Tina and get it out of the way, so we can move on to better stuff.
Rude.
A better life.
So rude. So rude. This is another D&D inspired game, just based in the world of Tiny Tina's insane mind.
It's kind of a spin on what was it? Was it Assault and Dragon Keep? I think was the DLC.
Yeah,
it's a
they
spin
just
on
released that as a standalone.
Which was probably the best spin-off of Borderlands 2, I think, of all of the DLCs.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the best DLC that's come out across the board.
So is this a Borderlands game?
Yeah,
it is.
Okay, so is it a first-person shooter?
Yeah, but it's kind of more. I guess they're going more like melee based with this one, less shooting, since it's also like a D&D story. Because the last one they kind of told was Assault on Dragon Keep. You still kind of use the same weapons and stuff. But with this one, it looked like they were trying to, go into the more melee character development, kind of like you would have in D&D. As much as they could, was still staying to their Borderlands formulas.
Yeah. And they kind of reformat the Lilith power stuff as kind of magic spells and stuff like that. Kind of reformat it like that.
All right. Yeah, I mean, so what is it about it that's really gotten you guys wound up?
It's fucking Tiny Tina, and it's Borderlands.
It's more Borderlands, but it's always more Borderlands. It's never not going to be more Borderlands. So I'll give it a look. I'll give them all a look. Hopefully it's a little bit more engaging than Borderlands 3, because I did drop off that one a little bit. But, yeah.
And the thing is, too, is it looks like it's kind of like it's set on younger Tiny Tina as well. So it's probably somewhere. This one probably happens somewhere in between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at least from what I've seen from the trailer, it looked like it's younger her versus like the teenager her that was in 3.
Well, the only downside you might have is that kind of too much Tiny Tina is a bad thing. You don't really want
to. What? Really? What?
Sorry to shake your belief on that one, but yeah, she can be a little bit annoying sometimes.
She can be a little much.
She definitely can. So we'll see what they do with an entire, a full length game.
Yeah, because she's framed as like the what do you call the person that runs the game? I'm not a D&D person.
The dungeon master.
Yeah, she's framed as a dungeon master, so she's going to be the narrative. So that could be a problem if you're not a Tiny Tina person.
Yeah. But, yeah. I think she's going to be in this game a lot.
Oh, you're just a curmudgeon.
No, she sucks.
No love in your heart.
I don't have any other problem with Borderlands. All the other characters, just her. No. All right. Does that have a release date or?
I think it's March.
I think March.
Yeah.
No, right here it just says 2022.
Okay. All right, Leo, talk about Sifu and why you're interested in that.
March 25th.
March.
Okay.
Sifu. It looks like a fun, kind of very contextual beat 'em up. Um, Lots of environmental kind of brawling, bouncing them off through environments in a kind of a very kinetic style, a little bit like Rise to Honor from many, many moons ago. It just looks like quite a fun game with it. It seems like there's an element where when you die, you get older.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I saw some things about that.
Yeah, but it just looks nice and kinetic. Now, I have seen some footage recently that makes me hope that they kind of really polish it up, because it seems a little bit chuggy at the moment, performance-wise. So hopefully it makes it a more, they fine-tune that, make it a bit more of a slick experience, but I'm looking forward to that. I do like a kind of a kinetic brawler like that. Yeah.
Did you play their last game, Absolver?
A little bit, yeah.
Because it looks like they're taking some stuff from that and then kind
Just
of
expanding.
Yeah, or making it a little less, I guess, obtuse, because that game was a little out there, and it's
a bit more focused
and it's set up. Yeah, this looks like it's mainly focused on that kind of that kind of combat thing.
Yeah.
So let's just go right into Crossfire X, because this is a game that's like, it's kind of weird that it's coming out, because it's been a multiplayer thing outside of like the US and the UK, but now Remedy's doing a single player campaign kind of thing for it.
Yeah. Complete standalone. Yeah. I think the interesting thing for me really is the Remedy thing, see what they can do with it. And it does look like it's a kind of weird cross between your Call of Duty runner stuff, and maybe a little bit of kind of that weird, slow, fast fear type stuff. So I just want to see what they do with the storied shooter. It's kind of interesting. It seems a little bit more like contract work maybe than something they would normally like put a lot of their own personal kind of aesthetic into. But yeah, I'll see. You know, who wouldn't want to see what a Remedy shooter like?
Yeah.
So
yeah. See what you must be excited for Alan Wake 2.
Oh god, yeah.
Announcement,
That's
yeah.
2023. I think.
That's a ways off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that should be pretty good. So see what Remedy has coming down the pipe. And you got Scorn on here, man.
I do Scorn every year, and I'll continue to do Scorn every year until it comes out, and then I'll put it on my most disappointing list.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to be, oh, that wasn't worth it, was it? But I'll keep putting it on there. The longer it goes on, the more it gets. If it goes on next year, I'm putting it on twice.
Okay. 2022. Scorn on Scorn 2. Scorn 2 will come out before Scorn 1 comes out. Yeah, this is like weird H.R. Geiger game, right?
Yeah, kind of weird Cronenberg, alien type stuff. Yeah, with teeth guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of. I feel. Did they put out some gameplay for this? Finally.
Yeah. It doesn't really seem to change. It always seems to be the same piece of gameplay footage, but just slightly expanded every time.
It had a slight, at least the opening to the first Prey, the original Prey game vibe. Like that game had like a real weird, like everything was meaty and bloody and
organic.
Organic, like organic meets futuristic kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's not as weird as that first trailer was for Xbox.
Boy.
That was that's why it's like that's what's emblazoned in my mind for this game, and hopefully the longer it takes to come out, the more I can get that out of my mind.
Promotion. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Callisto project because I'm actually excited for this one too. This is the Dead Space people coming back to kind of do a Dead Space game without the Dead Space name on it.
No.
And I know the only thing that I've seen of it is that first trailer. It was like just a cinematic trailer. Have they really said too much about it since?
No, they
No,
haven't.
I don't think so. I haven't seen any more in it too.
Yeah, I guess the only other notable thing here is that it takes place in the PUBG universe, whatever that means.
What?
Really?
Yes, yeah. It's being published by the company that now owns PUBG. And somehow it takes place in that universe.
Well then.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's bizarre. But this is going to be weird in that we're going to probably get this. This should probably come out alongside the remake of the original Dead Space.
Yeah, that's going
to be a weird one.
That will be strange. It'll be the new Dead Space versus the old Dead Space, but that's also the new Dead Space. I mean, it's hopefully they. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it is. A Dead Space, like a new Dead Space, and today would be, if like just going down the same path would be enough, or if there'd have to be some twist to it. I don't know. And the trailer didn't really give us enough of an idea of like what to expect from it. So hopefully they put some info out. And we got Dune Spice Wars, which is going to be coming out in early access in 2022. This was announced at the Game Awards, and it's being developed by Shiro Games that previously had done Northgard, which Northgard was a game that I played. I don't know if it was in early access when I played it or if it was out and then it was a game that they had released a bunch of big updates for that changed it considerably, and I didn't really go back to it after that first initial play, but it was a pretty cool RTS based around like Vikings and things like that. So I'm looking forward to this, and apparently we're all looking forward to it. I don't really know, like all that's really out there for it now is that it's going to be a 4X RTS, which is a strange mix because usually 4X games are turn-based, but it specifically said it was going to be an RTS, so that means it's going to be a real-time strategy game, which if you had listened to our top games of 2021, you'd know that I am a big fan of. So yeah, I'm excited, and I like the Dune universe, so hopefully they can take advantage of that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do or how they pull off the gameplay loop of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as much of an RTS fan, but I am old as shit. So I remember, way back in the time, I remember 20 odd years, well, God, longer than now, they had Battle for Arrakis.
Yeah.
Which was the real-time strategy, and that's enough of a kind of a callback to that. And I'm interested in this when I don't really play the genre.
Yeah, that's what's credited as being the first RTS.
Battle for Arrakis, really?
Yeah, that is credited as being for what the genre ended up being. That was credited as being the first one. So it's kind of a big deal for them to go back to Dune and make another one. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully it turns out good. Dune's hype right now. Let's get more Dune. All right. Chaos me, Derek.
Chaos.
Why are we so hyped on Final Fantasy Origins Strangers of Paradise.
Chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos. Chaos over there. Chaos over here. Or chaos?
What's happening?
Chaos.
Chaos
Okay.
2022.
Yes. That's it. That's all you need to know. Chaos.
Okay.
Well, if you made it past the first, cinematic kind of trailer, you'd come to find out this is going to be a Souls-like Final Fantasy game. Kind of set in their origin lines, which follows the Heroes of Light, which are always like, they're kind of like your turn-based ones, where you'd have like a mage, you'd have like your warrior, kind of like your typical setup. Not like you would get in your, like the newer mainline series don't really have that anymore, where the originals did. So it's just going to kind of be interesting to see like what they do with this, and how well they can pull it off. I played both the demos. They played pretty well. It's just I'm not quite sure like where they're going to take this or how they're going to keep it into a full-length game. But it's still super anticipated because it's Final Fantasy. It'll kind of be like the first new Final Fantasy game coming out, because 16 did get announced, but that's probably still a ways off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that just got a big delay.
Yeah, I think they said end of 2023, if not further.
Oh, jeez. All right. I thought it was a 6-month delay, and that meant that it was coming out in 2022. I don't know.
I think they wanted to say 2023, but they're still not completely sure.
Okay. All right. Chaos. What else is there to say?
That's about it until we get to dive more into it and see what the evolving story of it becomes, or are they going to use that Dark Souls where you kind of find the lore as you're going out from your set pieces? So,
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be interesting to see how a very story and character driven thing pulls off a kind of world lore based system, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I didn't realize it was it was going to be Dark Souls-ish. I thought it was just going to be another Final Fantasy kind of turn-based, or maybe in the more modern, like Final Fantasy 15 style.
Yeah, no, they're definitely laying heavy into the Souls-like / Bloodborne type feel of it.
All right. Speaking of which, Elden Ring supposedly going to come out in into February 2022, which I think it'll probably hit. It seems like their delay was substantial enough that they're probably not going to need another one or anything like that. So this is the open world Dark Souls style game, and from what I've seen of the footage, like they had a network test and they also did previews with some outlets and stuff like that. It looks very, very Dark Souls open world as opposed to say Bloodborne, which is a similar type of game, but plays quite a bit differently. This looks very like high fantasy, class-based, heavily class-based. A little bit slower combat, where from like Bloodborne we got those like faster swift moves. This seems like it's holding on to that heaviness of traditional Souls-like games. Yeah, and more specifically in that realm, allowing you to choose, because the big difference between Bloodborne and Demon Souls and Dark Souls is you can't choose to be like a big hulking, heavy character in Bloodborne. You have to use the dodge and the parry and be more nimble. Whereas with Dark Souls, you can go down that quick path if you want to, but you could also go a different route if you wanted to. And that seems like where this is going as well. So you can be the big lumbering tank, or you can be more nimble and big DPS if you want to. It looks like a really beautiful open world that they've created. They've always, From Software's always been really great at like environmental art and settings and stuff like that. It looks like it's leaning into the kind of cryptic storytelling that they're famous for, but maybe a little bit more fleshed out, like not so much leaving it up to the imagination. It looks like, so from what I understand, it's going to be like you get this big open area where you have things going on there, and then you'll be going into dungeons that are a little bit more in line with what you're more used to in these types of games. So for me, it's like they're marrying two of my favorite things. I love the environments of the Souls games, and like the weird fantasy storytelling, and I like exploring open worlds. So
yeah, and that's going to be interesting too, to see like how big it actually is going to be, especially since like in this one you're going to for the first time have a mount.
Mm-hmm.
To where it looks like it's used a lot to get around. So
yeah, it's still to be seen, like the actual final structure of it, of course, and like how big and open it's going to be, and what you're going to be doing in those open areas. But I'm excited to see what they can pull off. Because their track record's pretty good so far. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, it looks too much like those old games," but too much like Dark Souls or something like that. But I think that all I really need is Dark Souls open world. Like if it's pretty much just Dark Souls with some sort of open world element to it, whatever they end up doing with that open world, that's going to be okay with me.
Fine. Yeah.
Are you? I know I'm not 100% sure what your stance is on the From Software games.
I do like the Dark Souls game and Demon Souls, but I do find they became a bit much of a muchness anyway. And I'm not a massive sword and sorcery fan. That doesn't help much. I much prefer Bloodborne, and to some extent Sekiro. I like the more horror vibe of Bloodborne and the more martial arts side of Sekiro. This kind of leans too hard, I think, into the sword and sorcery type thing.
Yeah, that looks like it's what they're going for.
And kind of, there's a part of me which does think I am over the roll underneath him and smack him in the ankle gameplay. There's only so many times I did find that, but especially by the time I, for instance, got to Dark Souls 3. Really tough game, but I kind of burned through it because you kind of learn all the tricks after a while. It's very, very kind of... So I don't know. I want to see what the reception is from probably you guys to see if I will going to dip on it, because there is an entry level where I will get into it from soft. But I don't know. I'll wait to see. I'm not going to get in on the ground floor with it.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely, from what I've seen so far, it's definitely more Dark Souls than Bloodborne. But there is a little. I think you'll be able to approach it maybe a little bit more like a Bloodborne from the combat perspective, anyway. Because I think it's going to be a little bit open in terms of, because I've seen some of the enemies and stuff, they look like Bloodborne enemies more than Dark Souls enemies. So
yeah, weird arcane type thing, yeah.
Yeah, and like the way they move as well. is a big thing with the difference between the two games as well. But I mean, for it's easy to clump Bloodborne and Dark Souls into the same category, but they are for what their differences are, they are like extremely different. In terms of the way you approach them. So
Bloodborne's much more aggressive.
Yes, much more, and there's way less wiggle room in terms of like your build in Bloodborne than there is in Dark Souls, which is really pretty much an open RPG in terms of that, building your character and stuff exactly the way you want to. But that said, I think Bloodborne's probably their best game so far. Just
I've got half an eye on it. Sorry, go on.
What's that?
Go on, carry on, sorry.
I think it's their best game, in terms of a full package and like the setting and everything like that.
I would agree with that too, because it's also been easier to teach new people how to play that.
And it's because there are fewer options. It's like you kind of have to do this. If you can't learn how to do this, then you can't play Bloodborne. With Dark Souls, if you want to, you can like brute force through that game by like speccing up your strength and ability to take abuse, basically, and then like, speccing out in a way that like you can just take out the boss with 2 hits because you got this gigantic sword that's extremely super powerful, but also this armor that allows you to absorb the hits that the boss gives you, and then do it that way too.
I've got a curious eye on it, but like I say, I'll wait to see. If there's the parts that I'd like to lead into, you guys will probably let me know that it's in there.
Yeah, and
if it is in there.
And for me also, the gameplay and the FromSoft games have always been secondary to the aesthetic and the world building that they do. I just love the mystery of it and the art and exploring the areas and seeing the spaces. So that's why an open world version of it is just like really high on my list. All right, so let's talk about Horizon Forbidden West, Derek. Another open world game coming out early in the year.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where they're going to take with this one character development and these new types of enemies they're kind of introducing, because the first game was pretty solid. The DLC and expansions they released were good. The story kind of kept you going. Like, some parts could have been better, but it was still enough to where it wasn't like a bad story. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this one as far as it getting bigger in scope and scale, as far as what they showed and exploring. They haven't really like laid too heavily on what the actual story is. To where the first one was about Aloy kind of like figuring out herself, where now she kind of knows herself, but where does she take that from here versus just being that explorer and adventurer that she is. And it's just, like I said, it's the next part in a series that was really good. There's really not much more on it because I kind of been trying to stay away from most of the content on it. So I can go in there like completely ready to be surprised, because it's one of those games that I really enjoyed. I really got hooked to the first one. So I want to stay as kind of pure as I can with going into this one.
Yeah, I mean, what they've shown of it looks pretty good. It's coming out on PS4, which I don't think I'm going to check it out, because I honestly don't think the experience on that console will be that great for this game. It definitely looks like a game that they're really pushing the PS5 fidelity wise and everything like that. So it looks as a follow up to that first game, it looks pretty good. I
And
hope I hope they
brighter.
just go in a less generic open world direction. Like, I hope they figure out an open world and progression system that is unique to them, unique to Horizon, because
Right.
that first game, that was kind of like my only complaint about it, was the progression was kind of like, it felt like, you know, a very generic open world progression tree and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I could agree with that too. And I actually didn't even like, for as much as I played through, there was still a lot of stuff that I didn't even do in that game, as far as like getting progression all the way up there and
Yeah.
farming out. Like I gained the one like end game armor you could get. I did because that really tied into her story. But then some of the stuff it didn't so much. So I didn't really do those things like climbing up the huge like triceratop things with the leaf-like head to get the vantage points. I did like
Yeah.
one, two of them if I came by them, but I didn't go out of my way to get them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm hoping it. I am looking forward to that game too. I just, you know, hopefully I can get a PS5, because if I can, I'll play it. Dying Light 2, maybe, who knows?
Yeah, so this is another follow-up game that I can't really say the same thing as Horizon, because we're not entirely sure what this is going to be, but they have a very big vision for it, and I really hope with all the delays that they're able to pull off, because on this one I did follow a bit on the development of it and the different things they're trying to pull out as far as story, character development, how that affects the actual world, and what they're trying to do there. They're trying to make it a lot more immersive than it was in the last game, and more dynamic as far as the world and how the world looks and how the world's impacted from the choices you're making and what you're doing. That's just another zombie beat 'em up game too. I love them.
Yeah. Yeah, seems like that game's gone through the development issues. So hopefully it comes out and is good.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for another reminder that Dead Island's still being made. Jesus.
One day.
Yeah.
Not one day, come on.
The never day.
It's never happening. It's never happening. But I like to hear them say it is every now and again.
It's alright. We'll get a trailer sometime this year. It looks completely different than anything else.
Maybe you'll get another opportunity to buy a torso collector's edition.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was disgusting.
All right. I have Breath of the Wild 2 on this list, whatever it's going to be called. They don't even have the title for it yet. They really have not been talking too much about this game. I think they had said earlier in the year they were going to talk about it more at the end of this year, and then they didn't, which doesn't bode well for it. But yeah, if this ends up being, you know, a 2022 game, it's definitely going to be skyrocketed on my list for anticipation. So that's all I got to say about that, really, is that, you know, it looks at the very least it's more Breath of the Wild, but also what they have shown of it makes it seem like there's a lot of really cool additions they're making to their already pretty solid formula from the first game. So like stuff in the sky and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just I'm anticipating it. I'm not 100%. I'm definitely not sure it's going to come out next year, but I really hope we at least get some more information on it soonish. Tunic.
Hey.
This game has a release date, and I believe it's March. This is a game that has been in development for a very long time without a whole lot of information. And then all of a sudden last year or this year, they put out a demo for it. And so the demo was very specifically not an actual chunk of the game. It was like designed specifically for a demo format. But it was, supposed to give you a taste of what the full game was going to end up being. And on one hand, it ended up, it's different than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be a kind of traditional Zelda game, like very traditional Zelda game, because that's kind of like what they had been showing off. But it turns out there's quite a lot more to it than that. It's a little bit more mysterious. There's a lot more secret stuff going on. And it's also pretty challenging in kind of like that Dark Souls way, where it's very much about timing the combat and learning the patterns of the enemies and stuff like that. So yeah, that the demo kind of subverted my expectations, if that if I'm using that word right, and has gotten me in some ways more interested, in some ways less interested, because I don't know how I'm gonna take to the combat. I kind of just wanted a simple hack and slash game with a cool aesthetic and a cool little fox, but yeah, I'm excited to see what the full thing ends up being, because it's been like so long that they've been showing this game off. And I had mentioned earlier Death's Door. I feel like in a lot of ways, a lot of what Death's Door did was a lot of what I wanted out of Tunic. And with these long promotional cycles or long development cycles, you always worry whether or not a unique game is going to get its lunch eaten by something else that comes out faster or sooner. So whether or not Tunic's je ne sais quoi ends up hitting as hard as it could if maybe it had come out a little bit earlier. I don't know. It's always a hard thing to do, a hard thing to say with some of these indie games that could be really, really unique, and then inspire other people to do other things that are similar. And then Starfield. This actually has a release date, 11/11, which another Bethesda game coming out on 11/11. But anyway, this looks like actually, I have no idea what this looks like because they really haven't shown any gameplay of it yet. But from what they've said, it seems like it's going to be one of these Bethesda games, but in space. I'm not fully sure how that's all going to work out. Is it like going to be you're exploring tons of different planets? Are you going to have a ship that you're going to be flying around with? I'm not really sure. I don't know if they've put any of that information out yet. But Bethesda game, so it's automatically on my list, on my at least watch list, and it's going to be an RPG in space. So that's also on my list of immediate watch. So I don't know. What are you guys expecting out of this?
I'm interested in it, obviously, but it's difficult because we know so little. But I'm definitely kind of intrigued to a certain level. Bethesda games are always interesting to some extent. I know they get a lot of stick these days, but I'm intrigued to see what's going on with this one. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what it becomes or what it actually is.
Yeah.
But hopefully they can pull it off with a nice solid little launch of it too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be excited because this is like their first new IP and since Fallout, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be a Game Pass one again.
Yep, Game Pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our look forward to list for 2022. Hopefully, I think if like half these games end up hitting, it's gonna be better than 2021.
Yeah.
So hopefully, the future is bright here for video games. Yeah, and I guess that's gonna wrap this up. Our year-end wrap-up for 2021 went pretty long here, but we also didn't do anything for any other podcasts for 2021. So this was kind of our time to chat a little bit about what we've played. And yeah, it was a kind of not a huge standout year, but you know, there are still some games on here that I'm probably gonna think about for quite a while, despite the fact that there wasn't anything that completely blew me away. And I think that was the consensus across the board this year. But hey, video games, they're still coming out. So, yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys.
Thank you.
And see you later.
Bye.
See you later.